Good morning, people. I just want to talk about today what I realised one of the things I realised in rehab when I decided to change my life and turn that around. I One of the things I realised, and I'm very fortunate and glad that I realised it, was that I had the ability to change my thoughts. Um, I'm not talking about. I didn't have the ability to control what thoughts came to me at that point in stage, considering how full on my life was. There was a lot of resentful thoughts and anger thoughts in me, and vindictive thoughts, and resentful thoughts and anger thoughts, and but considering the lifestyle that I lived, that's to be expected, having thoughts like that, because that's the way I survived. But when I realised that the true enemy in my life was not all these things outside of myself that I used to blame. It was the internal dialogue and the internal thoughts that was coming to me all the time, and you're ugly, and worried what people thought of me, which created a low self-esteem and not feeling good about myself. You never go to amount to much. It's a shit life, and everything represented it was. It wasn't a nice life. But once I decided to take stock and say enough was enough, and I'm done. I'm done with that life after I broke down and cried. I realised that these thoughts, they were my true enemy. Anything that was saying bad things to me, voices in my head, and saying things like I said, I'm ugly and not good enough, and worrying what people thought of me, and all this stuff kept coming at me for years and years and years. But once I refocused, through understanding that I was accountable for everything that I was doing, and all my actions in my life, I started looking at these thoughts, and I started understanding that, in the grand scheme of everything that occurred in my life, and what happened to me, and how I was acting, and how crazy I was, these thoughts, as I said, they were the enemy. They were the enemy. And I knew that I had to stand up to these thoughts, and I had to challenge these thoughts, and I had to, I had to take them on, because if I didn't take these thoughts on, I would have stayed the same person. I don't think I would have emerged out of it. I think it would have been really tough to sit with, I can't do this, or things are hard, and life's shit. I'm not going to be anything. I'm just a heroin addict. I'm an ugly bastard. I'm not like normal people. I wonder what this people thinks of me. I wonder what these people think of me. Getting embarrassed all the time. If I wouldn't have attacked that voice in my soul that was that had crippled me, and I allowed that voice to cripple me because I disregarded it, and the way I disregarded it was I wasn't focused on what I had to do. As I said, I used to blame everything other than that voice, circumstances, incidences, situations, people. Yeah, that was my whole framework, and my life was a representation of all that blame too. It really immobilized me. It put boundaries on me. It really restricted me, to tell you the truth. Um, not being focused on what I had to do by just taking accountability for what I was doing and the situations I was finding myself in, and my thoughts and behaviours and feelings, and I know I can rattle on about this accountability stuff, but this is the stuff I did, and this is some of the stuff I did internally, which helped me, and I really started standing up to these thoughts that were negative. And one of the ways I stood up to these thoughts, I just started acting differently. I thought, well, it's taken me 26 years to condition myself the way I used to condition, like go out and steal money and disregard other people and use heroin and had no empathy for other people and disregard and self-centeredness and worry and a whole lot of other stuff in there that I'd been conditioned, and as a result, the outcome was my behaviour, my actions, and I was stuck in there. So I would do things differently, like if I didn't want to get up at rehab, I would jump out of bed. I wouldn't lie. I would be aware of it. If I didn't want to approach people and talk about my feelings, that means I have to approach people and talk about my feelings. If I didn't want to hug somebody, that means I had to hug somebody. If I thought about leaving the program, that means I don't leave the program. If I was getting tired, not finding a job, that means I have to go and get a job. That means I've got to keep going. If I didn't want to approach a girl, that means I have to approach a girl. If I didn't want to, talk on a camera, that means I have to talk on a camera. And I started doing all the things internally that my thoughts was saying to me, oh, you feel uncomfortable in this doesn't feel right, you're not going to, people are going to think you're stupid, you're not going to be able to do it. I really had to feel all my feelings in that kind of stuff, and I got used to it, and that's the thing. Practice made it really got me into different forms of framework by challenging these thoughts and doing things that my thoughts and my apprehension in my feelings, or my laziness, or whatever I was feeling, was saying don't do. I had to do everything that I didn't want to do. And the analogy I used, it was like going to the gym, and you don't build muscles by not going there and working. Well, you don't build a new framework internally. Well, I didn't, without consistently being aware of what is going to stand in front of me to create a new life and a new way of doing things. So I just kept doing the things I didn't want to do. Another way I used to take on these negative thoughts, I would visualize the thought, and I used to create a picture for it, and every time it would come up and say I was ugly, or you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you want to hurt people, or you're resentful, you feel vindictive. I would just I would put it into a picture for like a person, and I would grab a knife and I would just stab it. I would attack it with a knife, because I knew that was my biggest enemy, and I would say things to it. Come on, you motherfucker! You want to fucking take me on? I'll fucking kill you. You are a fucking piece of shit. You have fucked me, and I've allowed it all my life. I know I'm a bit aggressive there, but I needed to stand up to this thing. It needed an aggressive approach, because it had rolled me for years, and the more I stood up to it, the more it stopped coming at me. The more it stopped coming at me. And the more and the more it stopped coming at me in one area, it would try and come at me in another area. It was relentless in the attack. And hey, I wasn't making it any easier on me. I was smoking pot, I was drinking after rehab. I went through, taking, antidepressants and Seropax and Xanax, and hey, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying what was going down during my journey through recovery and overcoming thoughts. But another thing with the thoughts I realised is that we become the thought. We actually are we are actually the people by the thoughts, and that's a fact. Like if you're living in environments where you're taking drugs, well, your thought process is to get on and get drugs, and everybody else's thought process is the same around you, and that's why you do that. You can't blame anybody for it when you realise it, because then you can realise that, hey, I can stop this, but I think to stop it, you're going to have to put yourself into a different framework and hang in there long enough to acquire new thoughts and new ways of doing things in life. Living a life of not being a drug addict or going to jail all the time is you're going to have to create a new thought process to challenge that, to take that on, because if you stay in the same framework as what you were doing prior to that, well, you're probably going to go back to it. You can't break away from it. But that doesn't, that you can use that analogy in anything you do in life, from past experiences to go into new ventures. If you want to be successful financially, well, you're going to have to put yourself around people who's doing that, and be open enough to take on that information. But you need to challenge your thoughts of your past conditioning about maybe the doubt and your ability to do that. That you need to stand up to it. If you want that, if you want a new way in your life, So it doesn't have to always be about drug taking or um, like recidivism. It can be anything. You can create a new framework and thoughts when you realise what is stopping you to emerge. Well, it's what stopped me to emerge into a better life. Number one, I maybe wasn't ready for it. I wasn't aware of what I was doing, but as soon as I became aware of it, I knew who the problem really was. And as I said, it wasn't outside of myself. It was all internal. It was my thoughts, me challenging my thoughts, me overcoming it, me being motivated to do it. Because that's the other thing. If the focus isn't internal, for me, if it wasn't internal, if I was continuously blaming people, if I was in the old framework, I probably wouldn't have been able to get over my internal dialogue. I would have been misdirected. It was like, it's like trying to aim a gun at a bullseye and consciously shooting it away from it. You're never going to hit it. But it's a conscious decision. If you aim to hit something and you're aiming it and you pull the trigger, and if your direction is to hit it, then there's a possibility you're going to hit it. But if you go bang and pull the trigger and still look at that bullseye, you've moved that away. So you can't even possibly look at changing by the action. And that's your thoughts. You either get focused or you let negative thoughts sway you away. And again, if you can give all the reasons why you do this stuff and not stay focused and really change yourself in your life, but at the end of the day, you are controlling it. You do make the decisions. You have the thoughts. You have the power of will to stand up to negative thoughts. You have the power of will to take them on. As I said, I expressed what I used to do. Another thing, I'd blow the thoughts into a bag, and negative thoughts, and I'd tie the bag up, and I'd throw the bag away. That was another way I used to process negative thoughts. And they just keep coming and coming. But when you know, I probably sound like a parrot, but when you do know your true enemy in life, if you wanna know, if you want to know if everything's well and everything's good in the hood, that's all fine. But if you want to emerge into a different kind of lifestyle, you're going to have to deal with your thoughts and be really focused, I believe, on those thoughts, because those thoughts have come probably from, well, they've come from the decisions that you've made in the past. And the only way to get out of the past is take on your past thoughts and do, and do action with action, and do things you don't want to do to step away from the past. Take risks, keep going, have faith, and that's why it's good to have enough of your past, because hopefully that gives you enough motivation to break away from it. So yeah, a little bit of food for thought. There you go, on the thoughts, and how I acknowledged how they created my life, and when I seen that, for me, how I knew I could overcome those thoughts by doing the things that I didn't want to do, and understand negative thoughts, such as resentfulness, anger, bitterness, um, revenge, um, hurting other people, low self-esteem. That they need to be broken. And the more you break them with being nice and being accepting and being loving and being kind and accepting other people are going to hurt you and things aren't going to go your way, man. And things aren't going to happen the way you want them to happen, and life, life, poor me and being the victim, and it's not going to help you. It certainly won't help you. The only thing that will help you is take really, good stock of yourself, and don't give that power away. You hold that power to challenge those thoughts that you created by your past lifestyle and through your behaviour and actions, what you've done. There must come a time where we grow up and not stay childlike like that, and taking responsibility for your thoughts. I believe is one of the processes. Have a great day. Take care.